Hey, hello, welcome back. Moon Griffon Show podcast. Hey, you want to make sure you check us out. We're putting out a couple a week right now, but check out all your favorite places to podcast, Moon Griffon Show, and make sure you put subscribe, let people know you're listening to us. And we do appreciate it as we try to grow this bigger and bigger on every day, daily basis. So we're looking forward to working, and we're looking forward to being with y'all. Today, I got a great guest. Some of you folks that not in Louisiana, not around chemical plants, and this is not a problem with anybody. It's just the fact that we don't know, some people don't know how important chemical plants are, not only to Louisiana, but to the world, to the whole world. We couldn't do the things we do without chemical plants. Yet you've been told, we got to get rid of chemical plants and oil and fossil foods and all that stuff. And I'm telling you right now, that's the furthest thing from the truth. Here today, joining me, I'm humbled to have him back on, is Mr. Greg Bowser. He is the CEO of Louisiana Chemical Association. Mr. Greg, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Moon. Good to be with you, buddy.
Man, thank you so much for being part of. You know, Greg, I can let you just talk, but I'm gonna try to keep you. I'm gonna try to keep you going a certain direction, because a lot of people's gonna listen to us. They don't really understand chemical plants. My dad, I told you this before, worked in a chemical plant for 35 years, lived the mid 80s. I have a brother that's retired in a chemical plant, but more importantly, chemical plants play such a major role, not only in the United States, but the whole world. So I want to back up, because y'all getting a lot of pressure from the EPA, the federal government, and all this green new crazy that I call it, on chemical plants and things of that nature. So kind of back up and tell us what kind of service y'all provide really for the whole world.
Well, thanks, Boone. I appreciate it. The chemical plants provide a great service. When you look at everything you touch in your daily life, as part of it made in a chemical plant. You take a cell phone, for example, the convenience of cell phones now. That melamine plastic on the front, that's made from a chemical plant. Some of the interior of the cell phone is made from a chemical plant. It comes from the chemical reaction that we do in our plants, and many of them in Louisiana. I'll give you an example. Louisiana, for example, is 13% of the world's exports 13% of the world's chemicals. Just Louisiana.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. It's a huge impact, and it's in our everyday life. From the time you go to bed to when you get up in the morning, it's the chemicals that make some of the things possible.
Well, I think you said before, what's the saying you like to use? 60 days without any chemicals. Say what's the quote you always use?
Take the 60-day challenge. Spend 60 days not using anything that has a chemical that required a chemical change or chemical reaction that's made that has any of our products in it. It's almost impossible.
They might not be around, huh, Greg? They might not even be around.
No, it might not be. I mean, everything you touch, is from the time you get up and use toothpaste to get that toothpaste out the tube, the way that went through a chemical process. Running water. You use chlorine to purify the water. You remember when they had that issue up to Jackson not long ago with water, bad water, and all of that. You got to have chemicals to purify that stuff.
But don't you think? And I know you know this, y'all get a lot of pressure from the EPA, especially with the Biden administration. Don't they know how important this industry is to the health of people? When you talk about chemicals, what about how we grow our food and the tractors we use and things of that nature?
Yeah, the thing about it is we're one of the highly regulated industries in America, and that's okay if you have fair and good regulation, and everybody knows what the issues are and what you do. It's fine. We don't mind operating safely.
Sure.
Matter of fact, we owe that to the communities we operate in and to our employees, who are some of the highest paid employees in the United States of America. And it offers benefits, great benefits that come with them. And so being highly regulated is one thing, but when you start getting to the point to where, you want to just regulate us out of business, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, but like you said, could you imagine trying to feed the world? Just trying to feed the United States with no chemicals and fertilizer and things like that, because people got to realize that's part of the chemical. But another thing, y'all couldn't produce things that actually go hurt people. That's not what you're doing. Who stays in business if you hurt or kill all your clients?
That's right. Not only that, if you're producing something that hurts people, you got to think about your employees.
Sure.
Your employees are there 12 hours a day, right near that stuff. So if it's a problem, it's going to show up in your employees, and we don't have that.
Yeah. Well, Greg, let's talk about this as well. You've been in this business for a long time, and I want you to tell people out there when you think of chemicals and you think of the chemical plants and you think of the fertilizer and you think of how we feed and how it affects their lives. Can when you look at them and you look at what the federal government's trying to do now, I want you to explain to people what the government. Now, look, we're not anti-government on this program and never have been. You're not either. But the government's trying to force some stuff on us that really needs to be stopped immediately before they cause a problem. They don't understand what they're causing, which would be dramatic, which would be horrible for the country and the world. What are some things they're doing that you're just shaking your head up right now about?
Well, one of the things they're doing is they're coming up with this zero emissions by a certain date. You know, technology is going to dictate if you can do that, if you can go to that zero emissions. We want to reduce emissions as much as possible. As a matter of fact, over the last 30 years, we've brought them down about 70% just in Louisiana. But to say, hey, we're gonna do away with everything, and it's going to force all those products that we talk about that we need in our daily lives, we're going to have to buy this from China or some other country. It's not going to have the effect on the climate that you think, because it's going to go overseas and then they're going to be shipped back to us. You remember during the pandemic, we had trouble getting automobiles.
Correct.
Because the chips that were made in them were coming from somewhere else, another country, and they took their time by shipping them to us.
Yeah.
So we're going to become totally dependent on some other country.
That was the other thing too, when they start talking about fossil fuels and the things like that. Why would a country want to depend on another country, especially a communist country, for everything that we need or some of the stuff we need if you can do everything here? Why would, if it's bad for the environment here, over there, they don't have near the regulations that we have here. Not even close to.
No.
How's that better for the people than what we do in the United States of America?
It's worse. That's the one thing that I can't understand. Unless everybody plays by the same rules, unless you get, you can't have a facility shut down in the United States and go overseas where there are no regulations, it's going to be worse for the environment. And it's going to be worse for the environment. It's going to be harder to get your product back to the United States. And as you mentioned, you're going to be at the mercy of a foreign country, one that may not like you very much.
You think about this, it's not only in chemical plants and oil and gas. Our sovereignty really depends on oil, gas, natural gas, coal. It really does depend on that. Forget windmills and solar panels. Matter of fact, we're going to see one day, if they keep going, how good a windmill and a solar panel taste, because that's all we're going to be able to eat. It doesn't make any sense. But they've come up with this narrative, we're destroying the planet. Now, I know for a fact, because I had, like I said, my dad, he's not with us anymore, but he worked in a chemical plant for 35 years. I had a brother just retired after 40 years in a chemical plant. He's good and healthy and everything's going great. But our sovereignty depends on y'all in the chemical industry, in the fuse that we can do in the United States of America. Why does a country want to give that away to another country, especially if it's a communist country?
Yeah. One of the things that amazes me is I remember when I first started in this business, and maybe not many years ago, we were talking about the U.S. being an energy independent.
Correct.
Being able to produce our own energy, our own oil and gas. And now we're talking about shutting all that down and being dependent on another country.
Whew. That's
a scary thought.
But just think about if we had to fight a war today. Wouldn't you want to be dependent on what you have here in the United States of America? And chemical plants would play a big part in that. And so would the rest of our energy sector. It would play a big part. I don't know how many windmills are going to fire up an airplane. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think it's going to fire up an airplane too good. I don't think the solar panels will come and play if we're in a world war situation. But, most people have never gone through that situation, except for the Iraqi war. Since Vietnam, we hadn't been through a whole lot, and that war was fought over there, and most of it was fought in the air.
Yeah, and I really thought that when we went through the pandemic and some of the stuff that happened there was going to be a wake-up call as to why you can't shift and to be dependent on a foreign country to help you out or to provide you with things that you need. Because all of a sudden, we couldn't get automobiles. We were having trouble in some cases even getting anything shipped in because everything was blocked up at the ports and things like that. I mean, it's a tough deal. And so I don't know why we would want to outsource things we really need.
Yeah, well, tell you what, let me ask a question, Greg, something I don't know. I know there's chemical plants in Louisiana. Are there chemical plants in 30 other states, 20 other states? Can you answer that at all? How many other states, or maybe it's just in the South, where chemical plants are producing and making almost everything we touch?
Well, you have them all over the country. You have a big majority of them in the South, in Louisiana and Texas. New Jersey is a heavy chemical industry area, and you have some in the Midwest and some out on the West Coast.
Okay, so they basically all over. Now, I figured they were because there's no way we're gonna have chemical plants but I know you talk to those folks. Are they having to deal with different set of problems than say we are here in Louisiana?
They are, and a lot of our problems are the same because the EPA is given, it's regulating all of them, and it's making demands on all of them as you go around the country. And for some reason, they're picked on Louisiana, Texas, and the Ohio River Valley. That's the areas they've concentrated on.
We must not be voting right, Greg. We must not be voting right.
Moon, you bring that up. I need to look that up. That's something I didn't look up. I got to see what the voting pattern is.
Yeah, we must not be voting right in the South. That's all I can tell you. But Greg Bowser, my special guest, he is head of the Louisiana Chemical Association. Greg, we laugh about it, but it's sad. Y'all under so much pressure. You mentioned to me the last time we talked that they're really not talking to y'all. They doing all the talking, and they doing all the regulating, and they doing all the telling y'all what to do. But then you tell me when it comes down for them to listen, there's not a whole lot of listening going on.
No, it's not a lot at all. We requested 3 meetings with the administrative EPA, one when he was here and 2 when we were in Washington. And, he just didn't have the time to meet with us at all. And it's sad because they're the regulator, and you need to talk to the people you're regulating. At least get an idea of what their experts think. Instead of just being a dictator and say we're going to make you do X.
But the
EPA administrator came down and he met with everybody who opposes industry, but he didn't have the time to meet with us when he was here or in Washington.
That amazes me. You got the chemical plants that we got to have them. And it looks like to me, it's not a matter of coming in and say, hey guys, and this is the way government should work. Hey guys, we want to make sure everything's good, but what can we do for y'all? What do we have to do to make things better? That's what they ought to be doing. That's what government was supposed to do. When you start getting into well, you're going to do this, you're going to drive this, you're going to flush this, when you start getting into that, that's not a free country. That's not the United States of America. And then they come in here. You guys forgot more than some Harvard graduate that's heading this thing up about chemicals and chemical plants and how important they are. It seems like to me, if I'm not going to ask you or directly talk to you, then I got an agenda, and baby, you're going to follow that agenda. And if you don't follow it, we're going to get rid of you and shut you down. That's what it looks like to me.
And the thing of it is, it's regardless of whether or not your agenda is correct or what you're assuming is correct. Mm-hmm. We're just going to do it because we think it's right. A lot of this stuff can be verified by science. The science is out there. The universities do studies all the time. You can take a look at that and make sure you're doing the right thing. Look, we're all for protecting our neighbors and our environment. Mm-hmm. That's what we do. But to just come in and arbitrarily say, I think this is better for you, whether you think so or not.
Yeah. Well, that means you have an agenda. And the problem is, I've also got the power to force my agenda. And you almost wish, you remember the Christmas story about to come on? I watch it one time a year to make me feel good. It's a Wonderful Life. Okay? And George, I know you remember it. And George got to go back and see what life would be like had he not been there. That's right. I always thought that was a great motto. I pray that these environmentalists and all these crazy loons, as far as I'm concerned, on this climate, would have to go back 50 years and say, okay, we never had chemical plants. We never did anything. We had very little of this. And they had to live without all this to see what their life would be about now. They'd be criming and screaming for chemical plants and oil and gas and fossil fuels. They would. And I look at that movie. I know that's not a reality movie, but the fact is what they're pushing is not reality either. They're going to put us in a bind where this country can't operate. And that's what that's what all the climate movement is about. It is totally, to my book, it's totally fake. And you guys are in the middle of it.
I'll give you an example of one of the things they want to do.
Yeah.
They're talking about doing away with fossil fuels and doing away with petroleum products and doing away with them in your car so you can have an electric car. Well, you need petroleum products to make rubber, to make all the stuff inside that car.
Oh my God!
So you're not going to get rid of it. What's going to roll on? I mean, you got all of that stuff. It's not very well thought out. It's reactionary, and it's their chance to do something that they've always wanted to do.
Yeah, that's a shame, though. I don't know about you. I don't like being a guinea pig. I've never seen that work out for the guinea pig. You ever noticed that? I've never seen it work out. Well, let's test cancer on this guinea pig. Well, that solution didn't work. Throw him in the garbage. We're dealing with people.
Get another one.
Yeah, we're dealing with lives. We're dealing with real lives here, and we're dealing with a country that ought to not be associated with any of that. And yet here we are fighting it within our own borders. Anything else you want to add, Greg? And I do appreciate it, brother.
No, I just think that, there are ways to do this, and I think to basically not take advantage of some of the advantages that we have as a country, as a civilization, and the advances that we've made here in America. I think to try to take us back and say we're just going to take all these convenient things out of your life. Yeah. And don't worry about it. We'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah, try not to have a cell phone with these young people. My producer's younger than me. If he grew up on a cell phone, he's the one who put all this equipment together. And every time he asks me to go ahead and set it up, he laughs at me for the step I miss. But Greg, that's the kicker, though. United States of America is supposed to be different. We don't want to be like all these other people. In our book, they failed. Why do we want to fail? It doesn't make any sense. Greg Bowser. Hey, Greg, how can people get in touch with you if they want to know more about the Chemical Association?
Yeah, you can just go to our website at lca.org, and they've got all kind of information up there for us, and you can even reach me there. My email address will be there.
Greg Bowser. God bless you, Greg. You're a great American, brother. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Moon.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go wrap it up, folks. Don't forget to subscribe. The Moon Griffon Podcast, YouTube, Rumble, all other sites. Make sure you check it out. Tell a friend about it as well, because we appreciate y'all being with us today. God bless. See you next time.